So let me discuss method overriding, right? So in order to discuss this method overriding, I have considered the following program, right? Here I have written a class called A. So inside this class called A, I have declared an instance variable called I, and then I have written a constructor. Using this constructor, I am trying to initialize the instance variable, right? Next, I have written a show method, and using this show method, I am trying to print the value of I. So next, I have written a class called B, which is trying to extend a class called A. Since class B is trying to extend a class called A, we call class B as subclass and we call class A as superclass. Right? Now, inside class B, I have declared an instance variable called J, and then I have written a constructor. Using this constructor, I am trying to initialize the values of instance variables, that is I and J, right? So in order to initialize the instance variable I have used a super keyword, right? So when I use a super keyword, the super is going to call a superclass constructor which is taking single argument. So with respect to class called B, A is the superclass. So inside my superclass, I have any constructor which is taking single argument? Yes, I have a constructor which is taking single argument and which is trying to initialize the value of I, right? So next, I have written a show method, and this show method is trying to print the value of J, right? Now, so with respect to method overriding, my focus is towards this show method, right? So here, class B is extending a class called A. Since class B is extending the class called A, it is going to inherit the show method which is present in the class called A. But what this class B is trying to do, class B is trying to override the show method which it is inheriting from the class called A. In other words, my subclass B is overriding the show method which is present in the superclass called A. We call this as method overriding. So for method overriding, the name of the method in the subclass should be the same as the name of the method in the superclass. Not only the name of the method, the type signature also must be same. When I say type signature, I am referring to the arguments inside the show method. The show method inside the superclass does not have any arguments, so that's why the show method inside the subclass also does not have any arguments, right? Yeah. So I repeat, when a method in the subclass has same name and type signature as a method in the superclass, then we call the method in the subclass has overridden the method in the superclass, right? I repeat, when a method in subclass has same name and type signature as a method in the superclass, then we say the method in the subclass has overridden the method in the superclass, right? Now, so let me create an object of a class called B, right? Now, inside the class called demo, there is a main method. So inside this main method, let me create an object of a class called B. In other words, I'm trying to create an object of a subclass, and this object I'm trying to store in a variable called OB, and the type of OB is B, right? And then to this object, I'm trying to call a show method, right? Now, the question is, which show method it's going to invoke. That is, it's going to invoke the show method which is present in the class called B, or the show method which is present in the class called A. Can you think? It is going to invoke the show method which is present in the class called B. Why? Because I have created an object of a class called B, right? And before that, so when we create any object of a class, control immediately jumps to the constructor. But inside my class called B, I have a parameterized constructor which is taking 2 arguments. So I need to pass values for these 2 arguments, right? So let me run this program. See that? It's going to print the value of j as 20. In other words, the show method which is present in the class called B is invoked, right? Now, I want to invoke the show method which is present in the class called A. So in order to invoke the show method which is present in the class called A, what I need to do, inside the show method, I need to use a keyword called super followed by dot, and then I need to specify the name of the method which I want to invoke. So this statement is as follows. It says that super always refers to the super class. So with respect to my class B, A is my super class. So when I write super.show means inside my super class, I want to call a show method. So inside my super class, that is A, there is a show method, and the statements inside the show method gets executed, right? So let me run this program again. See that? I got the output for both I equal to 10 and j equal to 20, right? Yeah. Now, now let me do some small changes to this program, right? Let me remove this. Yeah. So as we know that this is an example of method overriding. Why it's an example of method overriding? Because my subclass P has overridden the method which is present in the superclass called A, right? Now, let me do some small changes to this show method. Now, inside this show method, let me pass an argument of type string. MST. Now, is it an example of method overriding? So what is method overriding? A subclass will override the method in the superclass if the name of the method and type signature in the subclass should be same as the method name and type signature in the superclass. Right now it is same. The name of the method in my subclass is same as the name of the method in the superclass. But type signature is same. Here is taking in one argument which is of type string, but here in my superclass the argument is empty. So this is not an example. So this is not an example of method overriding. In other words, this is an example of method overloading, right? So why we call this as method overloading? I think you know the definition of method overloading. So what this method overloading says, 2 or more methods with same method name but different type signature. Here you see that the type signature inside the show method is empty, but here inside my subclass, it is taking one argument which is of type string. So that's why we call this as an example of method overloading. It is not an example of method overriding, since I passed an extra argument inside the show method, right?